thinking about where you were when you were younger in this kind of, blissful ignorance kind of state. And then you put yourself in this position, which is exquisitely awkward, like really, like just like the kind of cringe that most people would, as you say, die. You would deliberately put yourself in these circumstances or situations where the frisson or that tension of humiliation or embarrassment or, the vulnerability in the ego or the sort of the fractiousness of that ego was kind of oozing everywhere.
Yes.
And I was curious as to what it taught you about that kind of knife edge between when something works or doesn't quite work.
So satire in the United States is very... things have changed quite drastically. But I would say that in the 90s and the early aughts, satire was very... people were not used to seeing it. Like real British style... or like even French, European style irony, satire, black humor was not often used. And there's an earnestness in a great deal of American culture, which I don't know where it comes from, but people thought I was this character. The amount of people who thought I was this jerk, or thought that his sexism was my sexism, or his obnoxiousness was my obnoxiousness, I think may have hurt my career. I'm not sure. But certainly I've had enough interactions with people who were surprised that I was not this person, or that I didn't speak that way. I had a German character who was a horrible collector named Proheim. I only ever did one performance of him. He had a German accent, which I can do because I had lived there, and the Dutch all can do a German accent. And the amount of people who thought I was this horrible German man was kind of mind-boggling to me. It's as though they'd never gone to theater. And so there was that aspect of it. There was also another aspect which is interesting, that as I got older, I started to sympathize more with people who had failed or who did have, human frailties and did become boring and did become, made different choices. And it became a little harder for me to give him the 100% assholeness that he had prior. And he became more kind of pathetic. So in the course of events, I did these 5 videos of Gross Monument, did some performance, did shows based around that, but then started to get known as the stand-up guy, at which point I was trying to get away from that and had started essentially another character who was the successful version of his assholeness, which was the Maxi Gallant Play Cult version. And he was the lead singer of a band, and I was doing these ridiculous rock operas, and then I would score the rock operas. And then by 2004, the MoMA had commissioned me to do a rock opera. And so I got together a band, which really became our band for some time, and recorded an album and toured, played a bunch of dates in the UK. And that kind of took on a life of its own for several years. But his character was more of the diluted character, but more successful in that there was something that I was always horrified by in human nature. And I think we've seen that with Trump, where someone's an asshole, but people are attracted to that aspect of them. I don't understand it. And it's obviously something deep in our primordial ooze. And so this character was this sort of talented in some respect, but mostly overly, the songs had to be good. They couldn't be shitty songs. They couldn't, they had to actually make you dance despite the amorality of the song. And that to me was interesting, because when you're standing on stage the most satisfaction you will ever have is watching a group of people dance to the music you're playing. It's the most corporal response. And again, like laughter is this thing that they can't help but do. They're moving like jerks and to this thing that you've made. So that became kind of fascinating to me, and how we do that. And so the next step from him being of just listening to the music was the visual component of these ridiculous rock operas.